All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect. Shalom Barakatum. And I'm going to title this lesson, Those of the World Simply Do Not Get It, okay? Including our families, okay? And what I mean by that is, there's going to be a separation of the wheat and the tares, okay? The goat and the sheep, okay? And I believe some precepts, we were speaking about this topic earlier, in our group chat, on a matter that we're really on our own. That this thing of blood and family and these things, those things are going to be scrutinized in the days to come. And even right now, okay? People suffer and tolerate the things that you believe in. Your family, you hear they use terms like cult and all of that stuff to describe the walk that you're in, but really they're envious at somebody that has a conviction and a diligence to stick to something, because most people can't stick to things that don't make them feel good all the time. This is why the church has been profitable over the years, is because they figure out a way to just make people feel good no matter how wicked they're doing. And so when the world sees people do things that are difficult, okay, that is not well received, and they see people sticking through it, part of them, I believe personally, are jealous and envious of that. Most people are scared to lose their jobs. They're scared to lose comforts. There's certain people, especially women, that are in friend groups that just let a lot of nonsense go on because they don't want to be the one, causing contention. They want to be the positive, version of whatever, and that's the flimsy makeup and design of this world, man, and ultimately all of these connections, even though they're family, their blood, they nothing comes close to what Yahweh Shai commissioned, which was the brotherhood, okay? Though that's your real family. But let me get to the precepts real quick. Let me see what was the first one I had. I'm gonna go to Matthew 10, okay? Because the Lord said these things would come, This is Matthew 10:34. It says, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword." Okay, and so most people only want to hear the version of Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Christ, as the peaceable, loving, always forgiving. They're picturing a white, blue-eyed, stringy-haired demon, okay, that'll let anything go, That's what they want, but that's not what the scriptures say. All right, it says, "For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." Why does it say that? Because those are just genetic connections, okay? See, this thing requires more than blood. It requires, integrity, okay? And trust me, we're gonna need the most integrity, because we don't stand to gain anything from financially here on this side, or spiritually or socioeconomically in any way. We're making an investment in the world to come, which requires faith, okay? And ultimately, these people, especially your family, they want this world to continue. I don't care how much they tell you they believe in the Bible. They want this world to continue, and the Lord said he's not of this world, okay? It says, verse 36, "And a man's foes shall be they of his own household," okay? All right? It says, "He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." Why did the Lord write this? Because we knew that family connections are difficult, man. That you do have a natural bond to want to be there, and you want them to get the truth. You want them to understand, okay? You want them to be delivered ultimately, And there's nothing wrong with wanting them to, but you just got to have the understanding that the Lord is going to save who he's going to save, including you, okay? You don't even know if you're going to make it, okay? And so you have to walk with that in mind. They're gonna say that you're in a call, and when Esau puts the real squeeze on them, they're gonna go along with whatever narrative Esau is trying to paint, okay? Your own family members are gonna rat you out. They're gonna snitch on you, okay? And they like to use your family because they're gonna be looked at as a credible source when they want to point fingers and demonize you. They say, "Oh, his mother said that about him, or his brother said that about him," you know. And they like to do that because when they want to sell, you know, the assassination of your character to the masses, it's gonna carry more, you know. Let's go on. It says, "He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it." And see, Christians are not going through this. They're not putting anything worthwhile as a sacrifice. They're basically just going along with whatever the current you know, hegemony is. Okay, they're going whatever's popular. They're going with the crowd. They're not going against the grain. Okay, so you gotta keep these things in mind, right? Because this is gonna get worse, man. Okay. Matthew 19, and I'll start at verse 28, and it says, "And Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit on the 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel." Okay? All right? And it says in the regeneration, so that proves that, you know, reincarnation is a thing. Okay? Because he's telling that to them when 2,000 years ago. How are they going to rule, you know, on the 12 thrones if this was 2,000 years ago? Okay? It says, verse 29, it says, "And every one that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall ye receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life." So the Lord knew these scenarios would come. There would be bitter things that we would just have to part with. Okay, like the man that wanted to follow Yahushua. You know, he asked him if he can go back and say goodbye to his family, and you know, drop some things off at the house and things of that nature. I forget I believe it's in Luke 9. Actually, I might just go to it. Luke 9:62, is it? Yep. Luke chapter 9, verse 59, it says, "And he said unto another, Follow me. But he said, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father." Okay, most people would consider that an important thing. And I would say it is, but comparatively to the ministry, no, it's not. Okay, it's actually very insignificant compared to what you're called to do. And you see, the world doesn't get that. They think you don't want to celebrate a birthday party, and all of a sudden you're a demon. You're insensitive. You know, you're in a cult. Okay, because see, they just want what they want. They don't actually care about the Bible, the scriptures, what's important to you. Okay, like they'll know that you don't want to eat pork, and then they'll have a bunch of food out there, and there'll be a lot of pork in it everywhere. And then when you don't eat it, they kind of, you know, give you an attitude, you know, like look at you kind of weird, you know. And it says, but he said, verse 60, it says, Yahushua said unto him, "Let the dead bury their dead." Okay, but go thou and preach the kingdom of the Most High. So he called his father dead. Okay, and he called the rest of his family dead. Okay, that's really what the Lord told him. The dead, let the dead bury the dead. The dead meaning your family. Let them have the funeral. Okay? And that's harsh and bitter for a lot of people, but we're soldiers, man. Okay? We're really alone in this thing. Okay? But that's what it really boils down to. When it comes to the rest of the world, the only thing that we have comfort is the body of Yahushua and the Holy Spirit. You know? That's where you should feel at home. Okay, if you feel more comfortable at home around family members, especially if they're on some bullshit. They still drinking malt liquor, you know. They still, frying up pork chops, okay? They still talking about Jesus loves everybody. If you feel more comfortable around your people in that scenario, you got to examine that, man. Okay? Me personally, visiting my family is a chore. It's something I do as maintenance. Like my mother, you make sure, okay, she got the necessities, she good here or there, but I'm not comfortable around my family because they're just blood. Okay? That's a lesson right there. They're just blood, okay? I might title it that. But your real comfort should be your brethren, man. Like Yahushua said, I will send you the comforter. Because once you know what we know, this regular bullshit that gives other people comfort or a sense of mirth, it shouldn't give you that anymore, okay? Because you understand what's behind it, okay? Now it says, verse 61, it says, and another also said, Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first go bid them farewell, which are at home at my house. So he just wanted to say goodbye. And the Lord said, what? And Yahushua said unto him, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of the Most High. Okay? Why did he say that? Because that's representative of them wanting to be a part of the world that the Lord said was against us, man. Okay? I'm going to hold John 15, but let me go to this first real quick because they don't get it. Okay? I was bringing this out earlier. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 1, it says, but the souls of the righteous are in the hand of the Most High, and there shall no torment touch them. Okay? And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Okay? All that matters is that you're in the good graces of the Most High. And if that's the case, then no evil can touch you, because this is about to be evil times, man. Okay? It says there shall no torment touch them. That means everything else around you is getting ready to go through torments. Okay? Now, you either believe this or you don't believe it. See, our families don't believe this. If they really knew what we knew, and they ate the whole roll and it sunk in, they would not be talking the amount of shit that they're talking. But the reality is they don't believe. Okay? The majority of our people, the majority, and our family included, is going to be counted among the unbelievers, the incredulous. Okay? It says, verse 2, it says, in the sight of the unwise, they seem to die. They meaning us. In the sight of the unwise, we just seem to be, niggas. People will make up excuses. Something happened to your house or your car, or you lose a job or something like that, and they'll go see. It's because you're in that cult. It's because you're not really with the Lord. You preach hate, but the Lord hates. And see, the world doesn't want to hear the bitter part, but that's balanced. Okay, didn't Job not say, "Will I only receive good from the Most High and not evil"? See, the world just wants everything without getting nothing in return. They want to be able to do whatever they want and then be forgiven no matter what. And it simply does not work that way. Okay, it says, verse 2, in the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery. Yeah, see. And part of that's true. It is a misery, man, but it's a pleasurable misery, because just like working out is painful in the moment, we know you get what? If you take care of your diet after that, you get what? You get gains. And what do gains lead to? More strength. Okay? And so verse 3, it says, and they're going from us. It says, and their departure is taken for misery, and they're going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace. And people can't understand that, because we're going through curses and Satan's attacking us. We go through things and they just think that we're in pitiful case. And our flesh feels it sometimes, but ultimately we have peace. Okay? That's why the scriptures say, count it all joy. The good and the bad. Because a lot of times you're gonna get more bad than good. And your people are gonna want to remind you of that, to try to pull you on their side. You see? It says, for though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality. Okay? And Job went through this test, man. Okay? So don't let the world convince you because you're going through things or you're suffering or your money's tight or you have a ailment in your body that is because you're wicked. You see? Those people are in worse case than us, way worse. All right? But it says our hope is of hopeful of immortality. That's the mindset Job had. He knew about immortality. That's what you feed off of, okay? When you're in the spiritual wilderness, that's that manna, knowing that everlasting life, immortality. You know, pain is just pain. It's temporary. The flesh is temporary. You know, it's a mind over matter. Your spirit has to really be locked in. You know, so your flesh will not convince you to give up. Your flesh will not convince you to take a shortcut, the easy route. Okay. Verse 4 again, for though they be punished in the sight of men, yet their hope is full of immortality, and having been a little chastised, they shall greatly be rewarded. All right? We will greatly be rewarded for what we're doing, man. You know? And people are gonna get scared. Your family, they're gonna get scared, man. They're gonna want to convince you to be on their side. You know, I can already see my mother. I may have to just block my mother when all hell breaks loose, because her survival instincts are gonna want to kick in and try to save me. Okay, go get the charagma. You know, I don't want you to starve. Well, okay. That ain't my lot, man. Okay, my lot is to die if necessary. In order for me to not be an adulterer to the Heavenly Father, man, by signing a pact with Satan. Okay. See, these people, they will rationalize the unrationalizable, okay, to save their own souls. And that's why I read earlier, those that seek to save his life shall lose it. Because see, if you don't understand that, you haven't digested that, then you'll do whatever it takes to save yourself. Okay? And you got to put the faith on Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, because he's got to get the glory. Okay? It says, verse 5 again, and having been a little chastised, they shall greatly be rewarded. For the Most High proved them and found them worthy for himself. Okay? Not according to these people. They don't understand anything. They don't understand prophecy. They don't understand the history. They don't understand half the breakdown. They don't understand love, hate. They can't tell you what a sin is. Okay? They don't know about how families and genealogies work and patrilineal descent, all of these things. They don't know reincarnation. Okay? They have regurgitated doctrines and dogmas that they've been doing for 30, 40 plus years. It's all they know. That's their coping mechanism to get through the curses that they're going through. Just like you, when the Bible explains to you why you're under the curses. You see? It'll never click. And you got to be okay with this right here. Let me go to it. This is Shalakia, wrong one. Romans 11. Okay. I'll actually end it here. I'm trying not to make this too long. I'll start at verse 1. It says, I say, Romans 11 and 1, I say then, hath the Most High cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, why is he clarifying that? Because this thing is about lineage, another thing Christians don't understand. They think that doesn't matter. Well, why would the Lord make a bunch of races, separate the races, give covenants to particular races, lineages and seed lines, only to say it don't matter later. You see, what's the first thing you see in the New Testament in the book of Matthew? You see what? A genealogy of who? The Lord. Okay. And when you read prophecy, you understand the importance of these things. But see, they don't get it. Anyway, verse 2, it says, the Most High hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Okay? What does it mean when he foreknew them? So you can't say that this is spiritual Israel. Okay? Because when he gave the covenants to Moses, okay, to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, okay, reestablished it with Moses, reestablished it with David, you know, Solomon on down. Okay, he foreknew. Okay, so when you see Israelites in the Bible, this is talking about us. Okay, it says, "Wot ye not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession to the Most High against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars. I am left alone and they seek my life." And see, you're going to feel like that, man. When your own family starts rolling on you, testifying against you, okay? It's gonna be bitter for some brothers, man. You know? But you gotta build yourself up now, okay? Get the understanding now. Get that leaven out of your spirit now. Okay? It says, verse 4, "But what saith the answer of the Most High unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal." So back in the days of Elijah, all right, the Lord knew that we were going to be persecuted by the wicked. And what did he do? He reserved men that were not going to bow. Okay, that means if the Lord chooses you to endure this thing, you're going to endure. And you got to know that, man. You know, regardless of the pain that you feel and all of this, you got to know it. Okay, it says, verse 5, "Even so then, at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace." Okay? And the Christians do not get that. They think you can go to church, play some music, and then you can actively save souls. No, you cannot save a soul. Only the Most High can save a soul, man. Okay? You're to do what you're supposed to do. Okay? It ain't you. Okay? What does it say? I can have the rocks cry out. Okay? It says, verse 6, "And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace." Okay? Otherwise, work is no more work. And what that basically means is if you can do it by your works, then you don't need the Lord. You can keep the law perfectly, right? Well, what does the Lord need to look out for you for? Because he said that if you keep the law, that you would live, right? So if you can do that, then you don't need this grace period of the Lord. But if you can't, then what do you need? Okay, you need mercy. How do we get mercy? What's the mechanism for how mercy would get down to the elect till they make it into the end? That's the intercessor, Yahushua, man. When you read the book of Hebrews, okay? And it says, "What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded." Okay, and it's sad to say that that's going to be a lot of people we know, a lot of homeboys I still know, man. I'm back home, you know, I see people I ain't seen in a while, you know, and they cool. You know, I would hope that they would make it, but at the end of the day, I know the vast majority of them are not, man. You know, and we gotta I know we know. But we got to really let these things sink in, because the time that we're getting ready to go into is going to be highly demonic, okay? We're going to get tested big time, okay? And when it says the rest were blinded, that includes people of our own family, our household. It's actually most likely, okay? Because that's the number one attack vector for Satan, is to get the people that's closest to you, okay? So anyway, man, I'll end it there. Lord willing, this is edifying. Call Allah Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Bahashim Rachakodash Shalom. Kwam Yasharallah.